All right, hello everyone. This is DayTraderRockStar, and I am here a day after coming back from Vegas. We're out at Vegas meeting all the members, or a lot of the members that came out, going to the Traders Expo, and what a fantastic trip. Just want to give a big shout out to everyone who showed up. You guys showed me a great time. Everyone was, I couldn't expect anything other than what these members are about. Very classy people, excellent, really fun. Had such a great time. So thank you everyone for coming out and making my trip enjoyable. I got to talk to a lot of traders at a couple of the get-togethers, and they were able to sit down with me one-on-one. We talked stocks and stuff, and it totally got me motivated to get back into the office and do some more videos, because it really, when you get to talk about this stuff, it really comes across. It really embeds it into your psyche and into your soul, and I'm so excited about the markets, and constantly making money. And there's a reason why that. And and I just got to continue to go over and stress these important points. It might seem very simple, but it's probably one of the hardest things to do. And I think it's just important to go over this again and again. So we're going to go over a lot of stocks tonight. I'm going to probably put out about 3 videos. This is the first of the videos, and basically just talking about my philosophy in trading and how important it is to be disciplined and wait for your trade. Like I said, we just came back from Vegas, and the whole time I was there, being a trader and being in the casinos and stuff, it really goes hand in hand, because we both both of these things require certain discipline. And as you probably heard the analogy many times, or you hear me talking about, is how important it is to wait for your trade. And it's the same thing in a casino. You have to wait for your hand if you're a card player, in both poker or blackjack and stuff. And and I like to play blackjack. And since I become I've been trading for years. Even my blackjack game has progressed, because I've learned to bet when the time is right, when the cards are dealt and the rule book says, hey, double down, hey, split, because these are the highest probability cards. Do what you're going to do when the dealer is showing a certain amount of cards, and you do what you're going to do if you have certain cards, based on just the probability. And that just goes to hand in hand with trading, because there's certain setups in the market where are high probability setups. That's what I like to call them, or areas where the market has shown us that these are great areas to buy over and over again. So why would we take something different? Why would we bet large in the middle of something where we could actually see the history of a stock and see the future of a stock? And once you're able to see that future, meaning you're able to understand what a pattern is and how different indicators line up, and they give you those ultimate entries. That's what you have to wait for. It's the same thing like waiting for your hand in the card to bet big. If you could wait and really learn the markets, learn your patterns, learn these just a tight group of patterns that I get to show you, your trading will be unbelievable. You'll be able to do this. But there's tricks of this. There's definitely tricks of the trade. And there's definitely an experience factor, and there's definitely a learning curve. So let's just continue to work towards this. Again, same thing. This is a good example, because this trade is going to come up this week. This is a great example of a high probability setup. OC is Owens Corning. We traded this one off the lower trend line, and this is exactly what we want to look at. We want to see an established channel. We know that it's been bouncing off the trend line. We also know that the stochastics each time gave us an oversold level. So these two areas right here is just, that's the ultimate entries. And then it actually came down to the trend line again. And that was even an ultimate entry. We actually found it at that point, so we were able to take that trade. It moved all the way up to the top of the trend line. You could sell right into that, which you should have, having the discipline to walk away and take the profits. Lots of times people in the casino, they don't win because they don't leave. Lots of times, if you apply your rules in blackjack, you have the best chance of winning some money. But unless you get up from that table and walk out with your money, it's not going to work. Same thing with trading. You could wait around for your best opportunity, make that money, but unless you take that trade off the table, there's a good chance that it's going to go back to the dealer or back to the house. So again, these 3 important things. Again, the best risk reward scenario, waiting for your hand, timing to get into the trade, and that's when I start using the the different indicators. Again, from actually, this is my 399th video. So tonight I'll be doing my 400th video. But out of all those videos, you know what my indicators are. I use the stochastics as my #1 indicator. I use trend lines. I need to have my stochastics and trend lines line up. I use the important moving averages, 20, 50, and 200 exponential moving averages. I use pattern recognition, which I trade my favorite patterns, channels, wedges, basing patterns which turn into reversal patterns. And then I also use reversal candlesticks along with it. And it's a very tight group of indicators, but I wait for those indicators to show up. If I tend not to wait for them or take a trade outside my box, then my risk level goes up a little. It's it's hitting on a 13 or a 14 when the dealer has a 5. You're not supposed to do it, but sometimes you fall into a trap and you do it anyway. And so this is very passionate for me. It's one thing to boast about trading and saying, hey, this really works. Another thing about sharing what you got to get to the same. It's very important to enjoy our work. Do what we like to do and share. Get us share what has gotten us where we're at right now. It's no big secret. I mean, you could go out there and again at the trade show. I get to walk around a trade show and I'm seeing a lot of the members and they're. A lot of people are just new to trading, 2 years, 3 years, maybe less than a year, and they're overwhelmed by all the vendors and stuff, and everyone's trying to peddle their system and their software and stuff, and it's trade shows are not not to say that I enjoy them as much as the next one, but I cannot now go to these things and say, oh, what's this? Because I have found my way in the markets, and and that's important because someone will charge thousands of dollars for their set of indicators, and I was telling people today, I said I don't care what indicators, and everyone has different indicators. I guarantee you one thing: if the market's moving up, those indicators are going to be pointing up. If the market's moving down, those indicators are going to be pointing down. Simple as that. So what it is the basics of the market: buying strong stocks, and pullbacks. Waiting to trends, develop and taking it off of major support levels and major trend lines. Once you do this and wait for this or find these, you're probably, your risk reward is much better to the reward side, and that's when you're going to start becoming a successful trader. Once you step outside of that box, you give yourself more risk. You get scared. You're not as confident in your trade, and all this stuff, works together. Confidence is very important. If you don't have the confidence to stay in your trade, you don't understand what your trade's about, you're going to take it off the table probably for a loss or get scared out and not have any follow through in it. Lots of traders who end up, not making money, they usually get scared out of the trades, and then they can look back or they can look back at the trade 2 weeks or a week later and see that trade would have actually worked out. It's just they didn't have confidence to stay in their trade. You can't just, you could have a little flag, little tails and stuff. It's not an exact science where trend lines, if it doesn't hold up, it means it's crashing. You have to wait for the closing prices. There's a lot of choppiness in an intraday trade. So if you're looking for the ultimate entries and stuff, you got to give it a little wiggle room, But that comes with experience and confidence in your trade. So I'm already using up most of my time here, and which is interesting. So I'm going to have to probably start my other video soon. We'll go over exactly what this, what all these indicators and how they line up, and I'm going to show them on these charts right now. Let me see. Actually, I could probably show. And this is OC. This is actually one of going to be the best bets going into this week on my 10 for 1,000 watch list. Now I put a watch list out each Sunday with all the setups that we just described. These high probability setups. We just scan the market for hours and hours, and chart them out, do them in a video form, and send them out. And this is actually going to be one that's on them. So enjoy this one. So the OC, again, you can see the stochastics pulling back. We're pulling back to a lower trend line. This is called a secondary entry. And again, I want to do a whole video on education video on primary and secondary entries. That's going to be the next video. Primary entries are down here where you have the highest probability and the most indicator setups. Secondary entries are also great setups, but they're after a pattern's been broken, and it's usually the first retracement. But again, you still use the same criteria. You wait for your stochastics, you wait for your trend line support areas and stuff to line up, and that's your secondary entry. So every trade that you get to know, every important trade you get, you should have a very defined focus list. It could be of 50 stocks, it could be 100 stocks. As long as you go through them, rotate through them, make sure that the quality, or when I say quality, people say define that. Well, it's not an easy definition because the quality develops in the market over time. It could be a stock that has to prove itself, but once it starts to get good earnings and they're a well-known stock and they trade with some good volume, maybe they're listed on the S&P 500 or Nasdaq 100 or the Dow 30, or they have a name behind it. It's not a fly-by-night company. That's the stock, and that's the stock you want to be in. So this falls right into that category. So once you get that first channel breakout, that first retracement back to that trend line here on a quality stock is usually a great high probability entry. And again, it's just taking that trade. When that trade comes, it's like getting an 11 and being able to double down here. It's a good hand to take. CL here. CL. Colgate is another great pattern, a wedge pattern. We talk about how, and again, I have plenty of videos how to trade a wedge pattern. Using the stochastics to set up, using the formula, the 75% formula into a wedge pattern, using the measured move. The first retracement, though, is that secondary entry. The first retracement comes back to the lower trend line, even an upward trend line in this case. So a very strong level there. This was actually on the watch list last week, and you can see the explosion off of this on Monday. And it actually came right back down to the trend line and then bounced right up off of that. So a very good, it was a very good level last week. Great trade, great example of a secondary entry there. So that's one of the reasons, you're going to constantly make money, is because you're going to be waiting for your entries. You're not going to take a random trade. Sienna was a very nice secondary entry when we got into this. This came out of a wedge pattern, nice breakout here, and that first retracement back here is where we started taking the entry. And again, the reason is because stochastics pulled back. We pretty much broke a trend. This is the first pullback of that major trend. And again, a little choppy there. I think people were a little nervous, but then the trade worked out very well. Ran into a little resistance. We start building a new channel now. Even a breakout and a crossover continues to make this one look very strong. And again, this was the target from last week. We had a target for $15. It went right up to $15 exactly, right up to that trend line, and pulled back. But it still looks good. But just an example of a secondary entry there on Sienna. Melly. This was going into last week, the best bet. And why was it? Because, first of all, great trend, breakdown of the trend. Notice this last week. I said, oh, we got 3 points. Let's put the channel together. 1, 2, 3. Actually, you could actually establish a trend line, but you can definitely see there was a channel forming here. But the 200 period moving average come underneath it, and that's one of my, very strong indicators, the 200 period moving average. So having the stochastics being oversold on the 200, knowing that there was a lower trend line right here, this whole area became a very good trading area. So we took a position right off the 200 period moving average. And again, you could see going up from Friday, ran right up to the 50 and right up to the trend line, which the target was 63. It actually went to 63.02, and the target was hit. Now, this still actually looks good, downward channel. Even we got a little pullback, then I would look for that retracement and push back up finally. But a good example of waiting for the trade to happen. This was a trade from last week. Again, we're just reviewing some of those stocks. All right. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go to part 2, so we can, don't have too long of videos. And the next series of stocks are going to be good setups going into this week. All right. So this is DayTraderRockStar. Let me just get that next video out. And I'll be on the radio tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8 o'clock Monday, week before Thanksgiving here, 11/22. And again, big shout out to everyone out there who came out to Vegas. Let me get started on that other video.